Hello, amazing teachers. Are you nervous about the lesson on the priesthood restriction and official declaration too? I would encourage you not to be. I also would encourage you to feel comfortable saying these words. I don't know, or we don't know. It's okay. It's important. It's important that our students understand that that is absolutely part of the gospel, to be given a commandment, and that we don't always know why. We often don't know why. Before we start, let me jump into just a couple of resources, and I'm pointing these out for you, the teacher, to help to set the stage. You don't need to share these with students, although if it's appropriate, you certainly may. At the end of this lesson, there are a couple of great resources. One is this. This is from now President Oaks, where he talks about how when he studied the reasons that were given for the priesthood restriction, he could not feel a confirmation of the truth of any of them. As he studied, he said, I learned that in general, the Lord rarely gives reasons for his commandments and directions that he gives to his servants. I determined to be loyal, and so forth. He goes on to talk about his experience. But that testimony of the recognition that we don't often know the reasons, and yet we can be faithful even if we don't know or don't understand, and how dangerous it is for us to speculate about. Let me give you a case in point. Have you guys ever fallen into the trap? I certainly have, of trying to explain the word of wisdom through, saying things like, well, alcohol's bad for you, that's why we don't drink alcohol, or coffee has caffeine and that's why we don't drink coffee. Really, if we get down to the basics of it, we keep the word of wisdom because God commanded us to do it. We've made a covenant with him to keep that commandment, and we are blessed for keeping that covenant. So let's take a look at this call-out box here to reaffirm this. It is important that we do not speculate about why the restriction was in place. And that's part of the introductory section. No clear insights as to the origins of the practice. That said, there are resources that we can share with our students right here under additional resources. Some of you might have done this when we talked about plural marriage, but this is another great opportunity to share these resources. We can email them or text them out to our students. And if they're interested in more about the topic of what we do know, then those resources are available, and please encourage them to dig in. And again, you don't need to have answers. This is a lesson that is chiefly about acting in faith, and that's applicable in a multitude of ways. And as questions come up, especially questions that aren't answered in the materials that we have or the things that we know, it's okay to say, I don't know. How important is it for our students to see us be able to say there's something that I don't understand, and I'm trying to as well, but I do know that Jesus Christ lives, and I do know that this is his restored gospel. I do know that President Oaks is the prophet. I do know that the Book of Mormon is true. We can teach them through our example what it means to act in faith. And acting in faith doesn't mean we have all the answers. All right, let's look at the beginning of this lesson. If you come up with something that you think is a better intro, I guess okay, but I can't think of a better way to start than this, especially since you know your students are swimming in this topic. The idea of race has got a big spotlight on it today, and our kids are in those waters. They are very sensitive to this topic. So jump in as if this is a mystery to be solved. 1972, missionaries come. They come to these two people who are of African descent, and they learn about the church policy that restricted black males. By the way, I encourage you not to paraphrase this story. Read it directly. It's worded very carefully. And I worry that if we paraphrase, we might use words or phrases that may offer concerns or develop problems around the topic that don't need to be there. So read the content. And once you do, you've got this. How about this for a starter? What questions might you have asked the missionaries if you were in that situation? You might be horrified of this question. Don't be. Let them loose, because the next question is a perfect lead into the purpose of our lesson, Acting in Faith. What are some of the possible ways someone could react to a situation like this? Whatever their questions are, and however intense they might be. I don't know if they will be, but they might be. Now, what are some different ways you could react? And in that conversation, allows students the opportunity to not just be reactionary, but in fact, to be faithful. And that will take us into the rest. Acting in faith, what does that look like? Well, here it is. Read this next section of the story to find out what that looks like. And what impresses you about what they did? Why do you think they chose to act this way? This is all very applicable to the very things students wrestle with when they don't understand something. So take the lesson, take it carefully, adopt it, and give students a time to swim around. Again, if they have questions, why was this? Or why was that? Feel comfortable saying, we don't know. But what we do know, you can find in these resources that I'll send out to you, and if you want to explore it, and I encourage you to explore it further. This is such an amazing example of trying to do what the Lord asks us to do, even when we don't understand, that He has purpose in the things that He does, and that the time may well come when we do understand His purposes. But in the meanwhile, like Nephi and so many other amazing saints, we may not understand the purposes, but we can still be obedient. Have an amazing time with your lesson. May it help to change your students' lives as we teach them the principles of the restored gospel.